This stock achieved its highest revenue and profits at the end of FY23, announced it was debt-free in April 23, and posted its highest ever cash flow in September of 2023. And no matter how you value the stock, intrinsic, relative, or through analyst estimates, it's undervalued by 25 to 30%. Is this too good to be true? तो शुरू करते हैं एक अनबायस्ड कवरेज just based on facts on the leading publishing company S. Chand and Company Limited. My name is Ashish Thomas. I'm an IIM graduate and a management consultant. My daily job is to evaluate firms, understand their risk, and anticipate market moves. And I thought, why not apply all of this to the stock market? So here we are, and let's jump right in. Here's the agenda for our session. Any good analysis needs to begin with an understanding of the industry. What is the market size, the growth rate, the key players. From there, we'll understand what does the company do. कोई competitive advantage है क्या? Are there some big news in the market? इसके बाद we need to understand its financials. इस कंपनी का revenue growth कैसा है? ये अपने long term investments कहाँ से fund करते हैं? Any market investment has its own risk. So does investing in this company. Let us spend time understanding what can stop the bullish growth of the firm. And finally, no matter the strategy, the vision, the financials, is it really priced right in the market? Or is it too expensive at the moment? With that preamble, let us dive in to understand the winds of change in this industry. Among the developed countries, India has the second largest publishing infrastructure, second only to China, and is the largest media-related subsector, larger than print or digital or even filmed entertainment. As per Nielsen, the Indian publishing industry is expected to touch $15 billion by FY28, growing at a 19.5% CAGR. This industry is dominated by education and academic publishing, which accounts nearly for 90% of the entire publishing market. Even this sub-industry is growing at a very similar rate. इसके growth के भी 2-3 basic reasons हैं. काफी increase हुआ है gross enrollment ratio, which means ज़्यादा बच्चे या higher education में enroll हुए हैं या कर रहे हैं. This is also a function of our population growth and increasing propensity to educate. इससे ज़्यादा expenditure भी हो रहा है, as education के लिए there's a need for new materials. There's a high demand for private education या coaching, which also needs books. And finally, काफी policies हैं by the government to encourage readerships like National Book Trust Finance Assistance Program. And finally, after 18 years, the government decided कि up to update our syllabus, the National Curriculum Framework which came through, which means almost everything is being reassessed and reprinted across all class programs. Now let's look at some of the big names in this entire market. इसमें National Book Trust है, which is a government-owned entity. Penguin Random House है, that is India's largest publisher house with authors like Jhumpa Lahiri, Anita Desai. Harper is world's second largest publisher house after Pearson. So that's the view of this industry and the companies in it. With that, let's go to the next section. We take a quick glance on some of the highlights of the firm, then move on to understanding the competitive edge and the strategy by the company. Then we'll look at some of the news that the firm has been making, mergers and acquisitions, कोई नई factory खड़ी की हो, any corporate action that has happened. S. Chand has been in the business for the last 80 years and is the largest education book provider in the country. It provides a vast suite of portfolio for K-12 segment, that is kindergarten to class 12, and has a pan-India presence. Company का 12 to 13% market share in CBSE and ICSE schools and is also planning to expand its share in the K-8 market. हर साल लगभग 50 million books publish करते हैं under the 55 consumer brands जैसे विकास, मधुबन, सरस्वती. इनके 3000 से भी ज्यादा डिस्ट्रीब्यूटर्स हैं जो ऑलमोस्ट 90% ऑफ द सेल्स मैनेज करते हैं. इसके बाद द एजुकेशनल मोड पे एस चंद इज हैविंग 3 ब्रॉड एज इन द मार्केट बेस्ड ऑन इट्स करंट स्ट्रैटेजी. एस चंद के पास ओवर 2400 ऑथर्स हैं, लाइक RS अग्रवाल जो हमारा या तो फेवरेट या हेटेड मैथ्स बुक था जो ग्रोइंग अप. तो ये कंटेंट ओनर्स इनके मोड है इन दिस स्पेस. They have 3 established digital learning products like Milestone, which is a hybrid curriculum offering for the schools. So आपके textbook, teaching manuals, digital content to run the class. Learning Flix, which is maths and science education module for kids, and all of this at a very price point which is hard to match. And Smart K for preschool. इन्होंने काफी edtech investments भी किए हुए हैं. And finally, they have a very strong marketing team which runs conclaves and conferences with teachers and school principals to ensure there is continuous market reach. This market has a very high stickiness, so once a publisher gets picked, it remains there for a few years. This also allows them to curate the content and even plan for the demand in the next year. Now let us look at some of the news or things that are areas that is impacting Eschan as a company. First, it is poised to grow on the back of National Curriculum Framework, which is the implementation of the new education policy starting this year. It also has a first mover advantage in this segment because the mandated NCERT textbook सिर्फ जून तक ही ready होंगे. With this, it is expected to gain additional 40 to 50% more market share as the schools have already started implementing this framework. The Eschan Academy YouTube channel has hit 200,000 subscribers and has started making impact in the tier 2, tier 3 cities. It's not monetized yet, but the management has indicated plans for it in the recent earnings call. And finally, the management mentioned that they have done due diligence and completed the entire DD for a new company, and they're drawing up terms for the next acquisition, which is expected to be announced in the first quarter of 2024. So there's a bunch of things happening for Eschan in the first half of the year. Now let us look at the financials. Numbers don't lie. So before we go there, आपने काफी सारे stock analysis videos देखे होंगे, but very few go into the depth like we are going today. So please go like the video अगर if you haven't already, and do subscribe. वहाँ bell icon होगा, वहाँ पे notification, all notification पे click कीजिए so that you're up to date because I'll be launching a new company analysis every 3 days. We have 2,000 stocks and only 365 days. तो content तो काफी आने वाला है. Some quick typing and a search later. So Eschan grew at 12% CAGR between 2020 and 2023, resulting in revenues of 6 billion rupees. In fact, they grew at a high growth rate of 27% last year too, showing a structural reviving in the earnings. Historically, they have maintained a gross margin of 60 to 64% and an EBITDA margin of 6%. अब हमें ये याद रखना पड़ेगा कि publishing house has to pay for salaries, author royalties, and they spend heavily on marketing, ergo the low EBITDA. However, as price hikes and volume hit from the next year under the new policy, EBITDA margins are expected to improve. Its net income stands at 11%. And they posted a huge profit of 600% over the last year. और इसके भी 2-3 reasons हैं. Number one is they are focused on internal efficiencies by relying heavily on technology. They right-sized both the staff and the product SKUs. Along with that, they exited the textbook investment at a 780% profit and iNeuron at a 2.1x profit. So this substantially grew the PAT for this year, but it is expected that all the efficiencies that they gathered will continue in the future years also. On the operational front, the operating cash flow is net positive. Its decrease can be explained by the high inventory cost. Paper got costly over the year. उन्होंने अपना debt free status achieve किया है in April 23 and काफी सालों के बाद even dividend announced किया है of 3 rupees. Its debt to equity ratio is 0. I mean, that was expected. The returns are actually moderate, slightly under or par with the industry standards, so nothing exceptional standing out. EPS has improved significantly on the backdrop of exceptional profits. Now, if you look at projections, equity research analysts are predicting Eschan to grow at a median growth rate of 18%, EBITDA of 31%, and PAT of 16%. With all this, they are anticipating ratios to improve further, which is exactly what we were also saying in the financials. They are also bullish about the growth of the share price, 26% growth in the first year itself, or in the next 1 year. Reason explained by them were having a new curriculum driving the sales for at least next 2 to 3 years, rising tech portfolio, and the price hikes, around 5 to 6% price hikes is anticipated, which is going to drive the revenue. And finally, on the shareholders, the holding pattern was stable. There was no insider buying or selling of additional shares in the market. Usually, insider selling shares is where you need to get alert of something going wrong. Both FIIs and institutions have marginally increased their holdings actually ahead of the quarter 3 earnings, which was one of the best in the company history. Now, with every great investment comes some noteworthy risk. So, paper के price volatility के कारण इनके margins impact होते हैं. Book piracy results in a loss of more than 25% or more of revenue. So there has to be that risk to be accounted for. K-12 education is actually very regulated, so they are vulnerable to any kind of unexpected announcements by the educational regulators. For example, CBSE board ने तो NCERT mandate कर दिया है, so this can also hurt. However, India में there are still multiple books. We all purchase it for every class, so immediate impact नहीं दिखने वाला. Now, finally, the लोगों के preferences पर authors relevant या irrelevant हो जाते हैं, तो उसका भी risk है because this is all partnerships that they have done in the market. And finally, the most awaited section, or at least the most important thing for me as I think about stocks, the valuation. For simplicity, I've taken all the financial numbers and run it into my valuation model. And this, as you have seen in my previous videos, is called the football field from the equity research world. अगर आप equity research targets देंगे तो their low is 350 and they go as high as 380. The median stands around 357, which is 26 to 27% upside that they are claiming. When I ran the relative valuation and looked for the trading comparables, I used Navneet from India, Pearson, and a couple of global media research groups for parity. ज़्यादा option नहीं थे India में in this, so I had to go for this. Relative valuation of the stock is coming out to be 400 to 440 in this range. I'll also add the stock is trading at the price to earning ratio of 16.5, which is in line with the market. Based on FY25 earnings, it's trading at actually P of only 11.1, which is at a discount. When we look at the intrinsic valuation of the DCF or only the financials, if we see of the company, it comes out to be around 370 to 420. I'm using a discounted cost of capital or WACC at around 11.1% and a long-term growth of 6.5%. So the stock is undervalued at the moment by 25 to 30% across the different valuation metrics that you take. So final thoughts. अगर आप लोगों को अच्छा लग रहा हो ये वीडियो तो जरूर लिखना what is the next share you want me to look into, and certainly I'll open up my financial model or anything that you would want to evaluate in any of the live sessions if there's enough interest. Let's look at the goods. The national curriculum framework, the price hike, the tech-driven platform are all going to boost the revenue. With zero debt, it has room to even go more aggressive in its investments this year. And of course, the stock is undervalued, so a good point to start in the market. The bads, the returns are average at the moment, but it's anticipated to improve in the near future. So with that, my opinion is that there are too many goods to estimate over the bads, and I believe that the durable financials, the undervalued nature and the bullish claims from the equity research analysts, there is a case to accumulate the stocks of S. Chand and Company. That's all for my time for today. I hope that this has given you a great starting point as you think about S. Chand and Company as a share. Do like the video. Please drop in your comments if you like something or anything that I should change. आपके comments काफी valuable रहेंगे as I continue to build this channel. Do subscribe to the channel if you haven't, and please share this with all the like-minded investors and friends that you have. As a final note, I'm not an SEBI registered yet, and these are my independent views and analysis. So please do your own research too, and let me know in the comments if you know what you feel about S. Chand and Company. And hope with this video you got some nostalgia remembering about your old school books. With that, thank you.